The trolley problem is a powerful moral thought experiment that challenges our intuitions about ethics, decision-making, and the value of human life. First introduced by philosopher Philippa Foot, and later expanded by Judith Jarvis Thomson, it presents a seemingly simple but profoundly disturbing choice. A runaway trolley is speeding down a railway track where 5 people are tied up and unable to move. You are standing next to a lever. If you pull the lever, the trolley will be diverted onto another track, where only 1 person is tied up. Do you pull the lever to save 5 people at the cost of 1 life, or do nothing and allow 5 to die? Do you pull the lever to save 5 people at the cost of 1 life, or do nothing and allow 5 to die? This dilemma pits 2 of the most influential ethical theories against each other. On one side stands utilitarianism, which argues that the morally correct decision is the one that results in the greatest good for the greatest number. From this viewpoint, pulling the lever is justified because it saves 5 lives at the expense of 1, a net positive outcome. On the other side is deontology, most notably represented by the philosopher Immanuel Kant, which insists that morality is based on rules and duties, not outcomes. According to this view, pulling the lever means intentionally causing the death of a person, which is morally impermissible regardless of the result. You are using that person as a means to an end which Kantian ethics strictly forbids. The problem intensifies when the scenario is altered. In the more emotionally charged version known as the Footbridge Problem, or Fat Man variant, you are now on a bridge above the track. A trolley is heading toward 5 people. The only way to stop it is to push a large man off the bridge and onto the tracks. His body will stop the trolley, but he will die. Most people hesitate or refuse to push the man, despite the math being identical to the lever scenario. Why? Because in this case the action is more personal, physical, and intentional. The moral agent is no longer passively switching tracks, they are directly harming someone. This version exposes the importance of emotional and psychological factors in our ethical judgments. People often judge based on how harm is caused, not just how much harm is caused. People often judge based on how harm is caused, not just how much harm is caused. These scenarios are not just philosophical puzzles, they have real-world implications. In autonomous vehicle design, for instance, software must decide whom to protect in the event of an unavoidable crash. Should the car protect its passengers or pedestrians? Should it prioritize young lives over old? These are modern-day trolley problems, and engineers are now forced to encode moral values into machines. A similar issue arises in medical ethics. Imagine a doctor has 5 patients in need of organ transplants and a healthy person walks in who is a match for all. Should the doctor sacrifice 1 life to save 5? The intuitive answer is no, and most medical professionals would agree, pointing again to the moral principle that individuals must never be treated solely as tools for achieving better outcomes, even if those outcomes save more lives. Another application is in military ethics, where decisions often involve sacrificing a few to protect many. Is it just to send a small unit on a suicide mission if it saves a battalion? Commanders must balance strategic gains with the moral weight of individual sacrifice, a live-action version of the trolley problem. Even in public health, such as during the COVID-19 pandemic, ethical choices mirrored the trolley dilemma. How do you allocate limited ventilators or vaccines? Who gets priority and why? These triage decisions force policymakers to choose between individuals based on criteria like age, survival probability, or societal role, decisions that are morally fraught but practically necessary. Philosophers have developed multiple responses to the trolley problem using different ethical frameworks. Virtue ethics emphasizes the character of the decision-maker. A virtuous person should act with compassion, courage, and wisdom, which may or may not justify pulling the lever. Contractualism, proposed by Thomas Scanlon, argues that moral decisions should be justifiable to each individual affected. Could you justify your choice to the 1 person who dies because of your action? Could you justify your choice to the 1 person who dies because of your action? In this version, the 1 person's death is a means to save the others, not a side effect, making it ethically closer to the Fat Man variant and often more morally troubling for deontologists. This reveals that our moral reasoning is not purely rational. Our brains are wired to care about intent, emotion, and proximity. Ultimately, the trolley problem does not offer definitive answers but instead illuminates the moral tensions we live with every day, the balance between doing the most good and respecting the rights and dignity of individuals. It teaches us that ethics is not only about numbers and outcomes, but also about intentions, relationships, trust, and identity. It exposes the discomfort we feel when forced to choose between two wrongs, compelling us to examine what we value most, the consequences of our actions, the principles behind them, or the kind of person we become through them. It exposes the discomfort we feel when forced to choose between two wrongs, compelling us to examine what we value most, the consequences of our actions, the principles behind them, or the kind of person we become through them. If you'd like, I can create an interactive survey, a classroom debate structure, or even a graphic chart comparing ethical theories based on the trolley problem. Let me know how deep you'd like to go.